Hello and what is up? It's your boy real_Joshua, and the other day on stream I did a little bit of a rant. If you clicked on this video, you probably already know what it's about. First off, I think you should take everything that I say here with a grain of salt. It's something that I just had to get out of my system because I do talk about it on stream sometimes, but it does annoy me, and it's nice and kind of cathartic to kind of put all of my complaints in one place. But on the other hand, I have gotten used to it. I am still playing the game. I still have a ton of fun. I love One Piece. I think more than anything else, my concerns with the cards that I discuss and the points that I raise in this video are about my concerns kind of for the long-term and future health of the game. I think that the precedents that some of these cards set up are a little bit risky and propose some problems that will only get worse down the line. First of all, I want to thank everyone for watching. I really appreciate you guys checking out my channel. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. It's really helpful. And also leave a comment if you have any ideas or anything you want to say about what I talk about in this video. So without further ado, let's get into this rant, and I'll pop in a couple times to make a couple notes. The argument is, and I don't believe this like top to bottom, there's some truth in here. It's just food for thought more than anything else, which is I think that they should ban Moria, Lucci, and Rebecca. I think all three of those cards should be fucking banned, bro. I also think Black Maria should be banned. Black Maria hasn't been too crazy after RP Law though. You're right. You're right. That's not the reason why I think it should be banned. I think Gecko and Rebecca should be type locked or leader locked. Yes, either leader locked / type locked or banned. Gecko ban makes BY Luffy unplayable. I disagree. The people are freaking spoiled, dude. Like, it makes BY Luffy worse. Yeah, but it doesn't make it unplayable. It's gonna make a lot of decks worse, but it's just not the best deck in the format, which is not a bad thing. BY Luffy would still beat like hella decks. Think about BY Ace, dude. BY Ace's power level is like what BY Luffy would be without Moria. And BY Ace is not like OP. Most games against BY Luffy I lost before they ever saw like Gecko. Yeah, like that deck can win without Gecko and often does. And BY Ace also wins without Moria. My argument is colors in this game are designed to have shortcomings. Right? They have things they're good at, they have things they're bad at. Bandai, the design of One Piece has been to create these color archetypes that have certain effects and certain costs that reinforce their identity. The best card designs maximize what these colors do well, while also implementing the weaknesses in a meaningful way. So one card that I really would take as an example is Purple Kaido. It's 9 cost. Dawn -5 rush. KO one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less. This character gains rush during this turn. So good. Like, that's a sick card. It perfectly goes along with Purple's identity, which is unusually powerful card effects at the cost of returning Dawn to your deck, which is a huge cost. If you play this on Dawn 9, you return 5 card Dawn to your deck. You're at 4 Dawn, you could go up to 6 Dawn next turn. That hurts. That's a big cost. It also fits Kaido as a character, added gravy to the design. Exactly. Then, and that's the thing, that's Purple's identity. You get powerful effects at the cost of Dawn minus. And the more Dawn that you minus to your deck, the stronger that effect is. And then they print this card that's just get 5 Dawn. Like, what? And I get that this is supposed to go with Kaido's leader effect, right? Which is Dawn -7, trash one of your opponent's life cards. So if you use this on 10 and then you block Moria, you'll be back at 10 next turn. So you could just keep using it over and over. And I think that's a really cool idea, but you have to think about the repercussions to the entire color when the card is not leader locked. Because you're not just applying this to Kaido, it circumvents the entire concept of purple for the entire color, not just the leader. Moria versus black is easy to remove. I mean, they still have to remove it. You could still, like, then it's a 2K in your hand. I do think Moria is fine if she's leader locked. I guess the argument is they need a 3-drop to stick on the board for a turn. You don't need it to stick for a turn because it's activate main. You can use it the turn that you play it. And if it stays, you can use it again the next turn. My argument right now is not that Black Moria is too powerful in the current metagame. because she's not. The effects that work with Black Moria are like okay, they're fine. They're not the most powerful. That's the reason why what I'm saying is controversial is because it doesn't actually apply to the game right now. It's not about the game right now. It's about the design space and the philosophy of color design in this game, which is that if you're going to have something that circumvents an entire color's identity, I think it should be leader locked. And I think the biggest reason that Black Moria is actually still okay right now, I think it would be healthy for the long-term health of the game if this was banned, but she's fine right now. But the biggest reason why she's okay right now is just because like Law is banned. But you can't have any good effects like Law anymore because yeah, Black Moria is just too good. I think Black Moria is also meant to help purple leaders like Blue, Purple, Croc, or Z to keep up. She does feel good in like those decks, but I mean, she's not going to really do much though, because at the end of the day, the best deck that's going to use her is the deck that can best -5 Dawn. And a lot of those decks don't have the ability to like, they don't have effects that are Dawn minus that many because Bandai is afraid to print those effects because with Black Moria, they're too good. The Dawn -5 effect here is give this rush and KO a 6 or less card. That's the cost of 5 Dawn, which is worth it, but it costs you 5 Dawn. But I mean, with Black Moria, again, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, then you have Black, which has 3 of these. Lucci, okay, up until this point, the identity of Black had been, if you want to KO something, you have to discard a card from your hand. That's a really cool part of the identity of Black. You lose some sort of card advantage. Let's look at Stussy, right? You have to trash one of your own characters to KO one of your opponent's characters. And it's 9 Dawn, 9K, by the way, which is also the same stat line as Gecko Moria for 1 more Dawn. Actually, fair card here. That's a fair card. Let's look at Sabo. Trash 1 card from your hand, KO up to one of your opponents costs 5 or less characters, and one of your opponents costs 3 or less characters. Sakazuki. Trash 1 card from your hand, KO up to one of your opponent's characters, the cost of 5 or less. Then Lucci, 4 cost 6K, vanilla stat line, best you can get for 4 Dawn. Place 3 cards from your trash at the bottom of your deck in any order to KO 2 characters? What the hell is that? That's not a cost. This is not a cost, dude. This is an identity breaking effect. And then Rebecca, blocker, draw 1, play 1. I mean, this is just a really strong card. And that's the thing is like these 3 cards in a vacuum, oh, they're okay. And I think that's the way that like Bandai designs this game sometimes, where they're just like, surely nobody will put Moria, Lucci, and Rebecca together in a deck. Because I've played a lot of decks with Black where it's like Moria does not feel that good unless you're running like these packages. If you just play a 4 cost card and a 2 cost card, it's like really great value, but it's not like amazing. If you're using it to play a freaking Lucci, bro, and you're taking out 2 cards on your opponent's field, it's crazy. And so people are like, Moria's the problem card, Rebecca's the problem card. Nobody really says Lucci's the problem card, even though I kind of think Lucci's the problem card, to be honest with you. If you could just play Moria and Rebecca, like, yeah, you could just keep getting blockers every turn and a 9K, and that's really solid. But being able to KO 2 things also is like actually insane. That tempo swing is actually crazy. So I think all these cards are problems because they freaking break the identity of Black. Moria is like, it's potentially the least identity breaking card out of all these. Josh from the future here just popping in real quick here to say that Moria, again, it did not break the identity of Black. I think it was an attempt to support this kind of sub-identity of Black that had been brewing for a while, right? We had stuff like Rebecca that would draw a card from trash and play something onto the field. And then Moria was like, play 2 things onto the field. So it's like kind of reinforcing this trash revival mechanic for Black. But I just think that it was way too overtuned, way too powerful in a way that should have really been obvious. I think Moria to this day is one of the biggest mistakes that Bandai has made, and I think they have mostly learned from that lesson, but the way that it has come to define black and the way that it's become such a staple in the metagame, I do not think is healthy for the long-term health of this game. I think they went way too hard, way too fast. And people say like, well, other colors have their boss monsters too, but none of them are nearly as good as Moria. Again, Moria did not break the identity of black, but it did attempt to expand the identity of black in a way that was really irresponsible and misguided, and that I think should have been corrected by now and hasn't. And so they're trying to correct that by buffing other stuff, but they're too afraid to even buff other stuff to be at that level. So yeah, it's a weird dilemma, and I do not have great faith in the future of like where this let's buff everything else approach is going to go, because that is going to take time, and we run the risk of like intense power creeping for the other colors. But honestly, at this point, I would prefer that because I want to play against stuff that's not black. If Lucci was like trash 2 from your hand, imagine, dude, this would be fair. Right now, the meta feels like you have to spam characters out every turn or you're cooked. Yes, that's exactly how the game is. And that's like why Dofi is good, but this deck still destroys Dofi in 8.5 in my opinion. Or if he was CP locked, I don't think CP locking this would make it that much better because Lucci is still a deck. It's called power creep, and over time it will always happen to make you buy new sets. I agree that power creep exists. I think the problem is that like black got disproportionately power crept in proportion to the other colors. I really think that like now with 09 and 10, they are power creeping more colors. And so it's gonna feel more fair. Like if you look at the meta, it's like we made Blackbeard that counters Lucci because they can't use all their on-play effects. But then I also don't understand like the philosophy of making all the counters to black just black. I don't want to play black, dude. I'm out here playing Lucci and I hate it. They got me playing Lucci. The best counter for Lucci is BY Luffy right now, which one of those colors is black. The B and BY Luffy. Moria, play 2 cards. Do people like I also don't think people talk about this is what 14 Dawn worth of stuff. Obviously that's good, but yeah, I mean 21 if you're talking about BY Luffy, but people don't understand the power of bringing stuff out of your trash, dude. The stuff that's in your trash, you get to choose anything you want from your trash, bro. Like people get how crazy that is. Like you're not just drawing a card. Your trash is your resource. Like if it was play 2 cards from your deck, that would be really good. But this just plays 2 cards from your trash that you get to pick. I mean, that's why graveyards effects are always so strong in these games, but in this game where card draw is like really difficult to come by, playing 2 cards from your trash is insane because it's like you're not giving up anything from your hand for that. That's why Lucci's can freaking counter with impunity, bro. They will counter till they have 2 cards in hand and 4 life left. And it's not a bad play because they play Moria and they wipe your entire board and they don't have to worry about anything for 4 turns. And then they just keep playing Rebecca and they just keep drawing that way. Because if you have 2 Morias, that's 6 cards. That's not 2 cards, it's 6 cards. Even more if you have Rebeccas from the Morias, because the Rebeccas draw another card from your trash. The card effect is actually just absolutely insane. To expand on this point that I'm making about bringing stuff out from the trash, look at a card like Sanji, 9 cost, 9k, which is already a worse stat line than Moria, and it brings out 1 thing from your deck. But this condition of bringing out something from the top of your deck is much, much harder to fulfill than Moria, because the prerequisites for what you'd have to do to make this good are much harder to attain than they are for Moria. The support just isn't there, right? If you have Perona, you can reorganize the top 5 cards on your deck, which would allow you to ensure that one of the top 5 cards of your deck is there. But what if the card that you want to put on top of your deck is not in the top 5 cards? You know, you have like a 5 in 25 chance of that being the case, which is not that great. You know, you could also run something like the blocker ace, the 5 cost blocker ace, but that's a 5 Dawn play that is not guaranteed because it means that you need to have Sanji and the thing that you want to summon in your hand to stack your deck for that to work. The most secure way of doing this is using Marco, but again, by that time, it's a 9 cost play. You're not really doing anything with your turn besides that. The value value that you're getting from Sanji is that he's basically a free 9k body, but the proposition that you're getting from Moria is way, way more than that, okay? Let's also look at this card that they recently announced from the upcoming OP10 set. OP10 58 Rebecca, 7 cost card, 4,000 power. Okay, so terrible stat line already. It has 1k though, 1k counter, which is really nice. It makes it just like a generally very solid and flexible card, although not like a game-ending, meta-defining card in the same way that Moria is. If there is an 8 cost or greater character in play, draw 1 card. This is on play. Then reveal up to 2 7 cost or lower Dressrosa type characters other than Rebecca from your hand. Play one of them as active. Then if the other has a cost of 4 or lower, play it as rested. So the conditions on this are so much more intense than those of Moria. These are both coming out of your hand. So if they're both 1Ks, you have to get rid of those from your hand, which is already a big disadvantage compared to Moria, because Moria, you get to take stuff from your trash, which is not your hand. You get to keep the stuff that's in your hand and play that. Second, they have to be in your hand. They have to be there to begin with. Whereas Moria, you could have used that for counter before. So you're doubling up your value from these cards if you had used them for counter, or if you had trashed them using like a Victoria Sindri or a Lucci leader effect, you'd be able to bring these out of the trash for nothing. They never had to be taken into your hand. You could be using the cards in your hand for other things like counter or playing them out proactively on the board. This is what Moria would look like if he was fair. This type of card, there's conditions to it. It's really powerful still because you're for 7 Dawn, you're getting a 7 cost, a 4 cost, and a 4k on the board, and drawing 1. Like, it's really, really high value. But again, it is taxing your hand. It is requiring you to have stuff in your hand. There's some setup involved. For Moria, like, the only setup is like have stuff in your trash. And if you've played a Sindri, if you've played a lot of cards that have support in Lucci or Thriller Bark, the condition is met so very easily. It's a great card for blue. It's consistent with its issues and its costs and its advantages in a way that Moria is not. And when you're pairing it with cards that KO 2 things at a time, it's way too strong. Bodies that remove bodies at no cost to your hand. Like, even if you just do this, just the raw math on the card advantage of this, like, it's actually insane when you compare it side by side with what other decks are capable of. Play a 9k, play a 6k, even without the spanning Lucci, play a 9k, play a 6k, and, you know, if you're playing Spandom or something, draw a card at the only cost being you add cards from your trash to your deck. So like, for 1 card, you've played 2 from your trash and drawn 1. So you played 2 things, killed 2 things at no cost to your hand whatsoever. Because if you played it with, again, I mean, even if it was brand new or something, yeah. This plus this plus this is literally 1 card that you played from your hand, and it replaces itself via the Spandom. You kill 2 things on your opponent's board, and you just put stuff at the bottom of your trash. So it's like 1 card, and you're coming out like the same amount of cards while removing and playing strong bodies. That's insane. All these cards are problem cards precisely because they go against the identity of the color. And again, it's not as bad without Lucci, but again, it's like all these things put together. It's just crazy. Okay, and that was the end of my little rant. I hope you enjoyed it or got some value from it, learned something. I don't like to be super negative. I don't do this kind of video that often. Again, this is more of like a cathartic thing, talking about the design of the game and what I think the future should be. So again, thank you for watching. It's me, real_Joshua. If you like what you see, like and subscribe. Find me on Twitter at HiThereJosh, and check out my Twitch stream at real_Joshua, where I speak pretty candidly about this stuff at length and relatively frequently, maybe twice a week or something like that. I don't have a schedule, but I do hope that you will join me if you follow me and turn on notifications and stuff. Anyway, I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much, and later.